Welcome to Pet Pals. I'm Dee Dee and this is Randy, and we are at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center on Rosemont Avenue, bringing you adoptable animals for you to share and enjoy. Our first guest is Kipper, and I don't really have to say much about Kipper. He tells his whole story just by how cute he is. He is very intent on Randy's treat pocket. Kipper is a male lab mix, as you can plainly see. And he has been in our foster care program for a month. He came to us as a tiny puppy, and from what I understand, someone brought him home and their mom said they couldn't keep him. So they brought him here, and he's been in foster care waiting until he was old enough to go into a new home. There are a couple things we have to consider. Number one is dogs should be 8 or 9 weeks old before they're separated from their mom. But Kipper did not get that advantage. So our experienced foster homes, especially this one, happens to have the ability to expose him to children of all ages, other animals. They take him out and about so he can get some of what he missed in time to be a well-rounded puppy. As you can see, he clearly is. They also start working on house training, but at only 9 weeks old, he's going to be a big boy, and he is far from being able to go unsupervised in the house.
He's a chow hound.
So Randy said he's a chow hound. So if he's motivated by food, a really nice thing about dogs that are motivated by getting treats is they're pretty easy to train, because they want the treat enough to try things that are hard and complicated. Now, he's also beautiful. He's got some white toes, and the points at the end of his ears say that he's not all lab, but his attitude is pretty much Labrador Retriever. Loves people, very sweet, and he's got a lot to learn. So if you feel up to the challenge of teaching him everything, then come in and talk to us about him. What we do for puppies is we take 4 applications and then we pick the person that's best suited for the individual dog. And we only get about 200 to 300 puppies a year, so sometimes that's frustrating for people who want to get a puppy. But if you aren't able to find one through the shelter, let us know, because Catoctin Kennel Club and several rescues. There's a great lab rescue in Potomac. There's a great golden retriever rescue. Certainly there's a rescue for every breed, but I'm thinking of the people who are motivated by a puppy like this are probably hound or retriever interested, and we can match you up with breeders or rescues that deal in your preferred type of dog. If you have been thinking about getting a puppy but you're not sure, come in and play with him and talk to us about puppies, and we will tell you what's involved, because people do underestimate what we mean when we say constant supervision. They say, oh yeah, sure, I can watch a puppy. What could be more fun? But by constant, we mean you don't really get to do anything else for a couple months. So it's worth it, but you need to know for sure that you're ready for that. Or you have to fix it later, which you can still do. But by the time they're 6 or 7 months old, if they aren't listening and they aren't attentive to you, then it's more challenging to fix it, and you probably need a trainer's help. So if you think he's as cute as I do, you can also pass this picture around, because it'll help for people to know that, that he's here. Our next guest is Carly. And Carly came to us as a stray. She has no tail, so we put her down as a Corgi mix because of her short stature and the no tail, but we don't know. So she could be part pug because she has an underbite. She could be part hound given her coat, terrier for her ears. So your guess is as good as ours. And one of the things that might be fun to do if you decide to adopt her is to get DNA testing and then let us know what you find out, because she is an interesting looking dog. She's a perfect size because you could take her hiking and she could handle all of that, but you could pick her up in an emergency. So really nice size of dog. And of course, Carly is a name that we gave her, not the name that she may recognize. And she certainly wouldn't mind if you change it. So one of the things about Carly that we would like anyone who wants to adopt her to know, I don't know if you can tell since she has no tail, but it's really tucked in. When Carly's meeting new people, she's friendly and will eat, so she's confident enough to eat and likes food enough. But she's nervous about new people. And then once she gets to know you, she's great. So we would want anyone considering adopting her to know that she might love other dogs enough to make the dog park experience good for her, but she wouldn't like a lot of strangers to reach out and pet her without some training. Now, how do you train a dog to like strangers a little more? Actually, it's not that hard. So when you let's say there was an alligator in here and I put $50 in his mouth and said, go ahead and get the $50. Depending on how much you need $50, you may or may not do it. Let's say I put $1 million in his mouth. Most of us would try somehow to do it. But would it make us not afraid of alligators? Not at all. So one of the mistakes people make in training dogs like Carly is that they offer strangers food and have strangers give her a bunch of food. She may want the food, but it isn't going to change how she feels about strangers. And oddly, it can actually cause a dog to bite, because while strangers are feeding her the food, she is aroused and nervous, so that makes her shaky, which means when she grabs for the food, she could miss. So that's not a good plan. So what you do instead is you, let's say, go to a PetSmart and park in the parking lot while people are going in and out with their dogs but not going to interact with you at all. You feed your dog and play with the squeaky toy and reward her every time a stranger is approaching, and as soon as the stranger leaves, you stop the rewards. Now, number one, you have to make sure it's a reward she wants. Some dogs don't think food is better than petting, or toys are better, so you have to know what your dog wants and make sure that it stops when the stranger leaves. When you notice that your dog's reaction to the approaching stranger is, now can I have my reward? You get a little closer. And pretty much the dog's feelings about strangers are changed. It's called counter-conditioning. And what you're teaching them is that instead of the approach of stranger means I might have to touch them, which isn't good, the approach of strangers means I might get something from my owner that I really like. And you can change how they feel about strangers being around. It's great to do that with the help of a professional trainer, because that explanation seems pretty straightforward, and you can't believe how wrong you can be with your timing and encouragement. So there are lots of trainers in Frederick that will come to your house and help you do just that. We have a whole list at the shelter. So Carly is probably going to just become more accustomed to strangers from being in the shelter and from being in a new home, but you could help her speed along that process. She is very young, so she has plenty of ability to learn bunches of new things about the world.
She just needs a little confidence, right?
Mm-hmm. Bailey is our next guest, and she is a Chesapeake Bay Retriever, as you can plainly see. The color she is called Dead Grass. And we don't have papers for her, so we have her down as a mix. She is 3 or 4 years old, and she was born February 8th. So we would love to get her a new home for her birthday. I think that would be a lovely promise for her. And Bailey's challenged right now because Chesapeake Bay Retrievers are hunting dogs, primarily for duck hunting. However, there are bunnies in this room, and she sees them. And I think she is concerned that we have no idea that they're there. And she's trying to point at them and have us notice them so that we will seem like, you know, smart hunting partners. Right now, she's a little worried about us being able to find our own dinner. But she is a sweet dog who's very big. Obviously, if you are used to retrievers, then what you should know about Chesapeake Bay Retrievers is that they are a little more serious than Labradors and Golden Retrievers. Labrador Retrievers and Golden Retrievers are also for duck hunting, but they're meant to live in the whole family situation. Chesapeake Bay Retrievers are working dogs. And one of the best search and rescue dogs I've ever met happened to be a Chessie. So she's gonna need stuff to do besides just, you know, hang out at the house while you're at work. So if you're a hunter, she'd be perfect. If you have some dog sport that you're interested in that you think she'd be suited for, it'd be worth trying that out. And we have contacted Chesapeake Bay Retriever Rescue to see if they might be interested in her. And I understand from our kennel supervisor that she is listed as a courtesy on their website. So that helps us because people who are interested in Chesapeake Bay Retrievers are going to check that out before they would think to check the shelter. So she's a beautiful dog, and I hope somebody that appreciates Chessies gets her, but if not, she's going to make a great dog for anybody who likes an all-around working partner. We are back with Robin, and Robin is a 5-year-old little mixed terrier, and we know a lot about him because he was born in our foster care program. So 5 years ago, his mom was here and she had puppies in our foster care, and he was adopted by a family who's had him this whole time. And due to their family situation, they're not able to keep him, so they brought him back to us, which is part of our agreement when you adopt from us. And we are looking for a home for him. He's used to kids. He lived with another dog. I think he has cat experience, and it makes him a really all-around great dog. The other thing that's great about him is how cute he is. So I would guess he's part Jack Russell Terrier. They have smooth coat and broken coat varieties, and he is a really nice size of dog because he doesn't mind being held and he's interested in being close to people, but he's not Chihuahua-like in his need to be pampered and carried around. So he's gonna make someone a great pet. The other thing you might not know is that dogs with this coat type are usually low shedding. So the reason that's nice is it's convenient for you. If you get a short-coated dog, sometimes people think the smooth short coat is going to mean no shedding, but that's not true. The smooth short hair just falls off as needed, so you have to sweep it up, vacuum, or brush your dog frequently. Wiry and curly hair usually doesn't come out unless you brush it. So obviously you have to brush him, but it does make it convenient for managing dog hair. He is... Randy just said he looks kind of like a lion head rabbit, and he does, because his wire coat's not covering his whole body. It's mostly around his head and neck, which makes him really cute. So if you are interested in any of the dogs that you've met this morning, please let us know. We only have about 7 dogs in the shelter available for adoption right now, which is great for us, not so good if you're looking for a dog, because people often complain when they come in that we don't have enough dogs available. To us, that's a great thing. That means that there's not very many homeless dogs. But as I mentioned with Bailey, we can direct you to rescues, and with Kipper, we can recommend kennel club contacts, ways that you can find a puppy if that's what you want, ways that you can find a secondhand dog if that's what you want, and we can also give you tips on how to choose. The most important thing I can tell you to do is picture how you want to spend time with your dog and tell us, the rescue or the breeder, what that picture looks like, and they can help you to find the dog that fits into that lifestyle. And that makes it easier for everybody, because if you upfront pick a dog that wants what you want, there's still training involved, and there's still the honeymoon period where you're so excited, and then when that's over, they do something bad, and you have to realize that it's a good thing you love your dog. But if you start with a dog that's matched to you, it makes that process so much easier. We have a lot of people tell us that, like Sassy, for example, who was adopted from here, the instant she went home, they said she has fit in perfectly. She is house trained and mannerly and was just everything they wanted. So if you let the rescue and training and shelter professionals help you make the match, you can have that experience too. So thanks for joining us on the dog portion of Pet Pals today. We're going to be back after a short break with more adoptable pets at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center on Rosemont Avenue.
The most important piece of equipment in your home is your smoke alarm, and it is probably the easiest and cheapest to maintain. Keep your family safe this year with regular smoke alarm checkups. Regularly check the batteries and perform periodic testing. For more information about smoke alarm safety and maintenance, visit the Frederick County Division of Fire and Rescue Services website at frederickcountymd.gov/smoke alarms.
The Red Cross encourages everyone to be as prepared as you possibly can for potential disasters and other emergencies. Follow these steps to be better prepared. Learn what emergencies or disasters are most likely to occur in our community. Have a family disaster plan and practice it. Put together an emergency preparedness kit, one for your home, one for your car. At least one member of your household should be trained in first aid and CPR. For additional information and mobile apps for your cell phone or iPad, visit www.redcross.org.
Welcome back to Pet Pals. We are here for our second segment with more adoptable animals from Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center on Rosemont Avenue, beginning with this most beautiful, perfect, friendly cat. Maui was brought to us secondhand. She is a beautiful brown tabby long-haired cat, and what a great personality. She doesn't weigh as much as you think by looking at her. A lot of that is fur, and she has a really interesting story. So the people who brought her to us only had her for a month, and they said while she was a great cat, the roommate was allergic and they're not able to keep her. But here's the part of the story that's so interesting. They were told when they took her from a friend that she's 14 years old. So she definitely appears to be a senior cat, but what I can tell you from years of working with my husband, who was a veterinarian, is that people, surprisingly, can be very wrong about their pet's age. And what I mean by that is that we would have a puppy come in to the clinic, and we would do the puppy shots and meet the dog when it was small. And then 5 or 6 years later, the owner would come in and say, she's got to be 8 now. And you look at the record and you say, no, only 5. And they say, no, she's 8 because we definitely got her when little Joey was in kindergarten. And there's no changing their mind. Like, no matter if you show them the record and say, seriously, we did the puppy shots 5 years ago, your dog is 5. No, he's got to be 8. So it can go the other way too. I do that with my dog. I have looked up his records and he's 10. And if you had asked me his age, I would say, oh, he's probably 7. So it is hard for us to gauge ages of pets as time passes in our lives without checking. So they were told she was 14. We're going with that. She's clearly a senior cat. But that's, you know, for a cat to be 14 and in this great of shape is unusual. And of course, cats can live anywhere from 12 to 20 years. So the person who adopts Maui is going to have a big heart and understand they may not get as much time with Maui as they would if they adopted a kitten. But what they will get is none of the kitten behavior of eating earbuds and knocking over the Christmas tree and whatnot. Not that she's not fit and able to do anything a cat's able to do, but kittens can be a challenge because they do naughty, silly things that older cats are too smart for. You also have the advantage that she knows a lot about the world, you know, uses her litter box, she's used to a lot of people, she's lived in several places. So this little kitty has a lot of experience to share and is quite beautiful. We are back with a lovely brown tabby kitten. I shouldn't say kitten without clarifying. This is a mature female cat, we think 5 to 7 years old. And she was brought to us because her family cannot afford to spay her, yet they also can't afford to keep taking care of her kittens and finding homes for them. So what we did offer them when they came is that there is a group, Uniting to Save Animals, that helps to pay for people to spay and neuter their cats. There's also a place on Route 26 called Metro Ferals that will spay any cat for $60. So it can be a lot less expensive than you might think, but there's just a financial commitment to having a cat that they weren't prepared to keep up, and that is you need to be able to take them to the vet should they get hurt or sick, and obviously buy food for them. And with cats it's really important because they have some particular nutritional needs, and they don't usually do well eating from table scraps, living off of table scraps. Often dogs can do very well eating what people eat, as long as people eat healthy. But cats really do need to have cat food, and a lot of cat food that's on the less expensive side is made more like dog food out of corn and grains, and that's not ideal for cats. So cat food's a little pricey, and so it is something to think about when you get a pet, is that you're gonna have to spend a certain amount of your resources caring for this tiny little family member. Now this little kitty is very beautiful, little black tips on her ears, beautiful brown tabby, and she's really tiny. She's not gonna get any bigger, and as you can see, really likes being handled by people. So I think she's gonna make somebody a lovely pet. She'll be a great addition to a family. If you are interested in her or any of our cats, please just come by the shelter and meet them. There's no obligation when you come in. We do not pounce on you and start opening cages and thrusting cats into your arms. We let you walk around on your own, see if there are any animals you want to know more about, and if there are, come up front, tell us, and we'll let you spend some time with them. This little girl isn't going to have any trouble finding a new home, but the longer she stays here, the longer her cage is full and unavailable to another cat that might not be as easy to fit in as she is. So think of the shelter as a resource for all things pet, and mostly what we can do is offer you good advice or refer you to people who have that information or assistance.
Try it. Try the whole thing. Where are you going?
We are back with Symphony. I hope you got to see her beautiful face. I'm sure she'll turn back around. She is a beautiful Torby cat, and what that means is she is part tortoiseshell and part tabby. And she is a little scared of being on TV, but she's quite beautiful. When she's in her cage, she will go under her bed, and then she comes out when she feels more comfortable. Her name is Symphony, and perhaps that because she's very talkative. And she's about 7 or 8 years old. She was spayed before she came to us as a stray, so we know she was someone's pet. It's possible that whatever happened to her, however she got separated from her family, is pretty scary. So she's just afraid that that's going to happen again. So the best thing we can do for her is let her go back to her room where she knows she's safe and food comes and people can't sneak up on her. So she's already getting a little more comfortable, but I still want to reward her with doing this hard thing. Means you get to go back where everything is okay and you know what's going to happen. You're a good kitty. Our next guest is Roman, and Roman is another long-haired cat, and technically we call them medium-haired because Persians have even longer fur, but he is what most people would call long-haired, very fluffy, black and white. He's only 8 months old, and he also came to us as a lost cat. Sometimes when we label a cat as a stray, for whatever reason, it makes people think of them as less desirable, which I really don't understand, because logic would tell you that if someone relinquishes a cat because they couldn't take care of the cat or for whatever reason, we do know their entire history. But if someone loses a cat, the cat could be amazing and perfect, and the fact that the cat's able to take care of himself on the street means they've got to be smart and a little cautious not to get into dangerous situations. So I think that what you know about a cat who comes to us as a stray is a little bit about their resilience and intelligence, and that should be an attractive thing, especially when the cat is friendly in spite of not having a place to be right before coming here. So one of the things I've thought about doing in the past is changing stray to lost, because if you say a kitty is lost, then of course that tugs at your heartstrings and might engage you a little sooner. But we've always said the difference between the way the animals come here is whether they were relinquished, given up directly from their previous owner, or stray, which means that their previous owner is unknown to us. So as you can see, Roman is very interested in Randy's cat comforting skills, quite relaxed. When he came in, he was a little nervous. They're always nervous coming into a new room. But it is pretty easy for them to understand that they're not in any danger with Randy's proper handling. He lets them know that this isn't going to be a time for you to worry about predators or seeing the vet, or any of the things that cats sometimes associate with getting into their carrier. When we bring cats into the studio, we bring them in a carrier because they have to travel through a couple rooms in the building. And it's safer for Randy if they're in a carrier in case they get afraid and hold on. But it's also safer for the cat because they may pass people walking dogs, they may pass doors opening that blow cold air on them. So if a cat gets startled and jumps from Randy's arms in the shelter, then they can run around in a room they're unfamiliar with and have a frightening experience they don't need to have here. So Randy brings them in a carrier, and many cats who have been owned, the only time they go in the carrier is either to go to the vet, or when they changed homes, or when they landed in the shelter. So it can be hard on them to get in the carrier and come to the studio because they don't realize they're going to go right back to the room that they know with their dishes and their beds and everything that they just had a couple of minutes ago. The other thing is with stray kitties, they may have never been in a carrier except to end up here, and so it can be upsetting. So what the animal caretakers do here is they are frequently placed in the carrier, put on top of the cages while their cage is rearranged, and then put back in. So by the time a cat's been here for a period of time, they've already gotten that the carrier is nothing bad, and going in and out of the carrier is easy, usually lands you right back in your house. So that can be helpful to you as the cat owner in the future because your cat's not going to have the carrier phobia that they may have come to the shelter with. So if you think that Roman would make a good match for you or someone that you know, let us know. And if you've seen any pets today that you think are worthy, then even all of them, then you can go to petfinder.com and look up Frederick County Animal Control, find the cat or dog or rabbit or guinea pig or bird of your choice, and print out their profile and post it someplace new. We can't be everywhere, and not everybody knows all the animals that are here. If you do that for us, it helps people know where the shelter is, what kind of pets we have, and maybe they will see one in the profile you've chosen that seems to be a perfect match for them or someone that they know. You can also do that on Facebook or Twitter. Go to petfinder.com, choose the pet you want, and share. And you can also find the pet of your dreams that way. You never know. Pet Finder, even if you go there looking for one of our pets to feature, you may find a pet at a nearby shelter or rescue that you've been looking for a long time. So it's a great service. You can also share this episode of Pet Pals with anyone by using the link at the bottom of your screen. And thank you for joining us. I hope we see you next time on Pet Pals.